Right. I've been asked to explain a little bit more about how the test results reflect on your health. So, this is a gentleman in Ireland. He's a male. He's 58 years old when he did his first test on the 29th of April and in 22. And then you can see beside it, there's another test as well. Test 2 is the 18th of October 2022. Now that really just is around about the 6 months or whatever, and it's going to show you what how he has actually improved. Now he wasn't on Balance Oil or any other Omega product before, and so he's now been on the Balance Oil and for the last, well, continually since the 29th of April. And so let's go and have a look at his results. Okay, so we're going to go through step by step. So the omega-6-3 ratio on the first test was really quite bad. He may have been experiencing some inflammation problems, maybe joints and muscles and things, cognitive health and things like that may have been a bit foggy, but 29-1 is actually quite high. We should be a balance of around about 3-1 or less than that. And so by doing that, it means that you are able to function, your cells function in the correct manner. And this profile is done of the blood spot test is done over 11 different fatty acids within your system. So that blood spot that you have sampled actually reflects the previous 120 days, and our blood cells change every 120 days. They renew every 120 days. So by taking the Balance Oil, which is what this gentleman has done, he's now retested again in October, and you can see marked improvement. So he's not quite into the 3-1 ratio, but as he was quite high at 29.1 to 1, and he's now 7.5. So that means that he probably has improved his inflammatory responses and markers within his system. We should, as I say, be 3-1. And all the omegas that we eat, the omega-6s that we eat, determine how high that ratio will be, that omega-6 part of that ratio will be. Now, the protection level comes from essential fatty acids, and that's designed to help us get or not to have problems with chronic diseases, even, we're talking cancer and things like that. So chronic diseases that actually cause people problem when their inflammatory markers are too raised. Also, it means that you're able to fight off things like coughs, colds, virus, etc. And it just gives you better protection. Now, that target value is 90%. And as you can see from the first test, it was 0. So that 0 means that there was 0 protection against viruses and things, other things like that. The second test is 38%. Now, it has gone up and quite markedly, but it's still not in the zone that we want it to be. And because of the amount that he was at the beginning, the 29.1, it's probably going to take him a little bit longer to actually get into that green zone. And we have a quite simple traffic light system which allows you to see where you are. So that protection level needs to be up to above 90% to be in the green. And then the next thing, the omega-3, how much omega-3 was in that blood sample? And I don't know whether he eats fish or anything like that, I'm not sure. But it should be above 8%, between 8 and 12%. And his was 3.2, again in the red. And so that needs to be raised above. And it's now gone up on the second test to 5.6. So he's in the kind of semi-balanced zone, but we still need to improve that completely. Oh, and now I've got the gardener next door trimming bushes. I'm so sorry about that. Mental strength, this is our cognitive health, and this is really important. It's one of the things I noticed very quickly when I first started taking the test was taking the oil, was that my cognitive health became very much clearer. My thinking became, clarity of mind was just powerful within a very short amount of time. So 3-1, not horrendous, but it's still in the red, and it should be 1-1 or less. So we've got people who are actually 0.5 and things like that. So, and they're sharp as a tack. So it's gone to 1.8, which is a great improvement, but still can be improved on. So that mental strength, and that really is very important. That actually, that's absorbing the EPAs within the oil, and the DHA in the oil as well. So that's really good for brain health. And that really, as we get older, it's really important, so we don't end up with things like dementia, Alzheimer's, but just having that good cognitive health and clarity of thinking. So, and then the cell membrane fluidity. Now, each of our cells, and we've got trillions of those trillions of cells need to be soft and flexible. If they're not soft and flexible, then it doesn't allow nutrition to enter into nutrition from your diet or supplementation. It doesn't allow it to enter in as easily to the cell. It doesn't function, the cell doesn't function as well as it should do, and more importantly, it doesn't allow any toxins out and through the cell membrane. So this is, if it's got too many omega-6s in, if you've got too many omega-6s in your diet, it's going to harden that membrane to the extent that it's going to restrict the entry and exit of things that we need. You can see that second test has gone down to 7.5, so much improved again, and but again still can be improved. So it needs to get to 4:1 to be in the green, and it's when it all gets in the green that the magic really starts to happen. You start to find you're more flexible, your joints and muscles repair that much quicker. Especially if you're doing any sort of exercise, then that's really key to making sure that you're repairing very quickly. So let's go down to the last one. So the arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is what our diet is. So he was semi-balanced in that aspect anyway, a little bit high, a little bit raised on those, but only just. And the second test, interestingly, was a little bit higher. I feel that will come down into the green as he gets the rest of his system into balance, which will, if he continues with the balance oil, then that should happen over probably another 4 months or so. And it's important to test every now and then to ensure that you're still keeping it up, because we know that, you know, habitually, if you take something every single day, then you are going to get a better result. If you miss a few days, then it's going to slip back a little bit. So you do have to keep on it. And we know that people are forgetful and life gets in the way. So arachidonic acid, this is the diet, all your diet, and making sure that you're not too elevated or too low. So, you know, kind of it's a kind of a genetic thing as well. Some people are higher and lower naturally, but if we can get as near as into that green, or the 9.5 zone, or the 6.5 if you're under, then that's the way you should be. So you have the ability to actually then proceed further down. Okay, this is not pulling down, why not? Okay, so this then gives us all the individual kind of acids, if you like, within our fatty acids within our system. So the palmitic acid is one here, and so the deviation, so if you look at the target range and the value of the person, so actually it stayed the same on that, which is pretty cool that it's actually remained the same, but there's a deviation of 12%. So that means that you can even that out as you continue on with the product. Stearic acid, again, I don't know what all these do individually, but it's really showing so that you actually have, now interestingly enough, this one, so he was right in the target range on this one, stearic acid, and there's a deviation of 0, which is great. And then that's what we're looking for, no deviation. We don't want the deviations. And then this one, he's slightly higher, so there's a deviation of 3.1%. Oleic acid, again from olive oil, which is one of the things. So he's gone down on this one, for instance. So there's a deviation. You can see 0% here was right in the target value, 0% here. And that again may be just a kind of a deviation because of, I don't know, seasonal foods and things like that, and you know, kind of using the oil. So it will continue to improve the better, the longer he takes it. linoleic acid here. And again, that one's dropped a little bit too. And maybe that's the reason that, you know, his arachidonic acid is a little bit higher as well. I'm not sure. Again, he was right in the target zone here, and just out of it here. So that's not too bad at all. Same here. Now this one's a little bit the gamma linoleic. And each of those, you can Google these individual things to see exactly what they do within your system. But test 2, again, so it was 0.8%. And so he was minus 27. So that deviation is bigger. So that needs to be addressed. Again, the GLA. My screen seems to be freezing a little bit. So alpha linoleic ALA for short. Again, now that one's dramatically dropped. So it was like 40%, 0.40%, and then 0.18. But that means there's a deviation of 52.6. So this, we need to get back up to that 0 to make sure it's in the right level. And that should happen with the continuation of the balance oil. EPA, again, wow. So minus 6, the deviation is minus 90. So that's improved a little bit. So it's minus 59. So again, these things can be improved on. DPA, again, 40, and that's gone up then. That's up to 0.8%. So that's much better. So all these things start to kind of balance out. And DHA, again, that's the brain health. So before it was minus 32 deviation, and then he's bang on in the target zone there, which is great. And I think that's the end of it. So those really, I mean, I would suggest that, you know, kind of he did another test within another few months to see how that's going. And then you can test either from the first balance test to compare them, or the second one. Entirely their choice, but I would possibly do it from the first one. So you do another comparison. So when you can't do any more than 2, unfortunately, but it's a great way of seeing that the product is working. And that's what I love about the balance oil and the balance test, is the fact that you do have this test validation to prove that the product is actually improving your health status. I hope that's been of information and value to you. And if there's anything I can help with, we work alongside this gentleman. So if there's anything I can help with in explaining to you about your personal test, I'm more than happy to do it. So my name's Sue Booth, and I'm signing out. Thank you very much for listening.